Whether you are thinking about becoming a restaurateur or you are already in the business, Michael Politz has written a must-read, The Food and Beverage Magazine's Guide to Restaurant Success. Pick up your copy today at Barnes & Noble, Amazon, Books A Million, or wherever fine books are sold.
Food and Beverage Magazine Live, bringing food and beverage to life, with your hosts, James Beard Award winner Jennifer English and Food and Beverage Magazine publisher Michael Politz. Featuring leaders in the hospitality, branded food and beverage, and CPG industries, many of whom are Jennifer and Michael's friends in the business. For an informal and informative conversation where friends in the business share the latest intel, ideas, and best practices. Live, juicy inside scoop from the tastemakers, newsmakers, bread bakers, drink shakers, spoon lickers, clam diggers, farms, foodies, and friends of the food and beverage magazine world. Here are your hosts, Jennifer English and Michael Politz.
Well, hello, everybody, and welcome. I'm Jennifer English, and I'm the editor-at-large of Food and Beverage Magazine. Innovation comes in many forms, and it usually comes with a giant dose of intention. When you go about whatever you do in the hospitality industry, which is, of course, where we are and where we live and what we cover, because with our 14 million readers each and every month for Food and Beverage Magazine, they look to us to reach out to our friends in the business to say what's happening and where to go. So anybody in this business that's really doing what they are here to do, what's their mission and their passion, it comes with intention and innovation. How do we measure whether they've been successful in these endeavors? Well, we have things like the Proof Awards, the James Beard Foundation Awards. And in the case of cocktails, bars, and spirits, the Spirited Awards is part of Tales of the Cocktail in New Orleans, Louisiana, which just wrapped up its 2022 edition. And like so many things, it had a brief pause, an interlude, if you will, for a global pandemic that impacted our industry in many, many ways. But once again, we are together and we're celebrating those people and places and things that are truly the standard bearers of excellence in the world. When you innovate and you do something that nobody's done, people might say to you things like, you can't have one of the best cocktail bars in the country in a Courtyard by Marriott. Yes, you can. You cannot be in a city that isn't one of the big three. New York, right? You can. When you make what you make in such an extraordinary and exquisite way, the world will find you. From the movie Field of Dreams, if you build it, they will come. If you make it, they will surely come. They will line up. They will clamor for what you do. And the awards will follow, as will the recognition, the accolades, and the impact, which is really the whole point behind intention and innovation. How do you know you're going to make an impact? You're put here to make an impact. If you're smart, you listen to that impulse, and then you get really, really good at what you do. Today, we have a guest who has done all of these extraordinary things. He is truly a master at his craft. He could go anywhere in the world with his acumen and his ethics and his work ethic and his creativity and his discipline and his hospitality and his just overall like extraordinary bundle of superpowers. He could be anything. He could be an orthopedic surgeon. He could be a judge. He could be anything. But he's here because he's meant to be a beacon and a standard bearer of leadership in the industry of hospitality, cocktails, spirits, and he is a great leader. He's a generous teacher. And as somebody who was part of the United States Bartenders Guild, he has done a lot and continues to do much to train the next generation while he continues to operate not only the best places in the country, but he does it with really extraordinary innovation and creativity behind it, while all keeping an eye on the classics that got us all here. His name is Aaron DeFeo. In the industry, he's affectionately known as Doc. And he and his team at Little Rituals, the cocktail bar that he has been at the helm of from before and through the pandemic, and now on the other side, has just been named one of the 4 best cocktail bars in the country. It's no small surprise. He is truly one of the best. It's an honor to know him and to have him on the show. And we're going to talk about innovation, intention, and how in this moment in time, it's really more important than ever to be really authentic. Dr. DeFeo joins us. How are you, Doc? And congratulations. Not only has the James Beard Foundation named you a finalist, but Spirited Awards has as well. These are the awards and acclaim that indicate that you are really at the top of your game. But this is really more important for the state of Arizona because you did something even more rare in an unusual place. First of all, welcome.
Thank you so much. I'm really happy to be here, as always, with you, Jennifer.
Talk a little bit about where we are right this minute in the world of cocktails and how the world has gotten past its big city-itis.
Well, as you know, we've been in the midst of. I mean, it's hard to even call it a renaissance anymore because it's been going on for almost 3/4 of my bar career, but starting in the sort of the early to mid 2000s and really picking up steam right before 2010. Cocktails were on their way back. They crawled back from the depths, as it were. Essentially, we were on the brink of seeing really total, like a complete shift in the industry where when I started, almost nobody made fresh juice cocktails or put any thought really into what they were making. Everything was driven by whatever the new brand was that was out, and it was always a sugary club style drink, if you will. And of course, things have changed quite a bit, and we have so many amazing mentors and people to thank for that. I could go through the list, but I think we've covered it extensively. But the Dale DeGroff, the Tony Abuganams, the Julie Reiners, the Audrey Saunders, keep going on. And those are just people really who were in the big markets. And then in all these different smaller markets, there's always 1 or 2 people who are, responsible for being torchbearers and really just kind of, keeping the craft alive and fostering new bartenders and new experiences. So, I think that we're at a point now, 20 years into the movement, that there's enough momentum that cocktails continue to explode. It's kind of like an ever-expanding universe, And I think we are getting to a point now where there are so many cocktails out there that one of the main things that's going to be the most important is not do you do cocktails, because everybody does cocktails now. The main thing is going to be, do you do cocktails well? You mentioned intention before. That's so important. Are people really thinking about what they're doing, or are they just keeping up with the Joneses and trying to say, oh, well, we need this on our menu because so-and-so has it. That no longer will cut it. That would cut it 10 years ago. That would cut it maybe 5 years ago. But at this point, your cocktails and what you do have to be reflective of your bar and of your identity. And if they're not, your customers will perceive them eventually as being inauthentic, and they'll lose interest. People are constantly striving, especially the younger generations. They're searching for authenticity. And if they're not finding it in your bar or in what you're doing, they can identify that and they'll move on.
Hey, listen, I'm having a little bit of trouble with your sound. I don't know where your mic is. Maybe we can make a tiny adjustment, and I'm getting a little scratching on it. Maybe we can give that a tweak or so. But if you can hear me, one of the things that I want to talk to you about is I've known you for quite some time. I've really watched you evolve in your career. When you were in the stage of your career, when I met you, when you were just coming into the industry and the industry was developing, I mean, it's really ironic. You literally have developed in your career at the same time the industry has developed. So when you came to this and you realized what this could be and then what it was, I remember that you've always been very, very focused on authenticity, but it never was sacrificed for flavor or taste. You always understood that authenticity and irresistible were the hand-in-hand ingredients of something being successful. You are one of those people who has never made anything that I didn't love. It wasn't just that I liked it. It's like a musician. I love the way you play the music of the cocktail. Can you talk about how important that really is? It's really earned you the acclaim of the 2022 Spirited Awards finalists and in your James Beard honors. I think it's really important to emphasize for people that are in the industry and thinking about what comes next in Food 3.0 as we all emerge out of this pandemic.
I think, you know, I didn't mean to bypass flavor and say that flavor isn't important.
No, you didn't. I want to make sure that I give you the credit that you make a hell of a delicious, irresistible everything.
But you're 100% right, because you also we can't lose track of the fact that we are here. You know, what we do is we're creating experiences, but in order for people to enjoy the experience, they have to enjoy the beverage. It's what they're paying for.
Right.
You know, yes, it isn't a wholly encompassing thing. You know, the atmosphere, the service. You know, obviously, but if you go to a really great or really amazing restaurant and you have bad food, that is what you're going to talk about. Like, I've had bad meals where the service was great, but the food was bad. And I've also had meals where the food was amazing and the service was terrible. And I'll tell you that, you know, when you go to dinner, you know, the purpose is to eat for the most part. And if the food is inedible or just it's not appealing, you know, what's the point of going again? And it's the same thing with drinks. You know, it's like, that's the thing that bartenders fear the most. I think people who are making cocktails is that first sip. They're always laser focused on the guest's face and their reaction. And it is the most, the most awful feeling to see, like, you want the wave of relief to hit you and you see them, you take the drink and say, oh my gosh, this is so good. What you don't want is somebody to say things like, huh, okay. Or, or you can see the wincing face with no smile. Like, obviously if they're drinking a glass of bourbon, they might wince anyway. But, you know, in terms of just your cocktail, you know, it's that moment where you're really trying to read the guests and see if they're enjoying it. If they don't enjoy the cocktails, then the next follow-up thing they say is, what do you have for beer? Or I'll just have a beer instead. Or, you know, let me just get a High Life. And once that's happened, you've kind of lost them to a certain degree. Not always, but, you know, it's sometimes a good indicator that maybe you didn't make the impression you wanted. And I got
to follow up on this. This is an amazing point you're making. Is there any other place in the hospitality industry where there is as immediate and direct feedback and communication between host and guest as the bartender and the patron with that first sip moment? Because how often is a chef going to be there to see, did you like my panna cotta? Or, you know, how is that lamb chop, right? You're probably not there. You have a very unique perspective. You get to actually read the guests like a book. Will you talk about that a little more? I think there's something really important to remind operators of, with the bartender being that touch point for the guest.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we actually rely on the bartender for so many things. In many bars and restaurants, the bartender sort of runs the room and reads the room and has to have their head up and constantly looking to see what's going on. And that's just situationally. That has nothing to do with even the quality of the food and beverage. That's just more like from a safety and a and a hosting perspective, just as you would if you were hosting a party at your home and you're floating around constantly checking in with people, the bartender kind of has the same responsibility in a lot of ways.
Hey, Tony. Tony, Doc, you're whatever's happening, we're getting terrible echo on your sound. I think is there something we can do to try this again? You sounded good before and now we're missing it. Tony, are you here still? Can we start over? This is it's good stuff, but I mean, he sounds really echoey.
Yeah, I don't have an echo on my side. It's a little scratchy, but it's not an echo.
I'm hearing scratchy and echo. Is it usable?
Yeah, we can use it. It's probably because he's using those earbuds. That's probably the biggest thing. They don't have a good sound to them.
Doc, will you try it without the earbuds, or do you have to use the earbuds for this?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, you sound good. Can you speak it 4 or 5 seconds?
Yeah, sure.
There's a little buzzing. There's a little buzzing noise, but it's better than it was. Tony, what do you think?
Yeah, that's good.
I think it's better than Doc. It's better than it was. And Tony, can you edit this out? The stopping that we did.
Yeah, I can take it out if you just want to keep going. I can take it out.
Doc, would you rather keep going or start over? How much time do you have with you?
Let's keep going if we could, yeah.
Okay. So stand. What's that? Do you have a motor running on something like a fan or on the? Can you hear that?
Hold on.
It's a weird sound. Is someone mowing the lawn outside? There it is. It went away. Whatever you did, it went away. Whatever you did, it went away.
Okay.
Okay, it sounds so much better. Oh my God, it sounds so much better. 100% better. I promise.
All right.
Okay. So, Doc, tell us about Little Rituals. It was a dream of yours, and you've made it come to life, and the world has responded amazingly, not only with the 2022 Spirited Awards Best Hotel Bar, but that the James Beard Foundation recognizes you. You're one of the most acclaimed places in the country, and we're really proud of you. But tell everybody about what Little Rituals is.
So Little Rituals began sort of just as it was just a space that was inside of a hotel that somebody said, hey, do you want to do, do you want to do a bar here? And really it was supposed to be sort of an extension of Bitter and Twisted downstairs, not the same, but sort of just, hey, we want something similar to what Bitter and Twisted is, but with a different feel. But it evolved from there because we thought a lot about the hotel bar concept and what that meant to people. And we realized that we were inside of an extended stay hotel, sort of residence and courtyard combo. So there were lots of people who would actually be your regulars who would be staying in the hotel for a month, 2 months. Lots of business travelers. So it takes a slightly different type of style of bar to accommodate that. We wanted to have some of the trappings and the flair of some of these more fancy, more storied hotel bars, but we wanted to preserve something that was uniquely Phoenix, and we wanted to do it with, outstanding hospitality and something that fit downtown Phoenix, because downtown Phoenix is very eclectic. It's very artsy. It's very fun. I think when we were first looking at uniforms, we were talking about do we wear white jackets? Do we do something like that? And now thinking about it, that would have been so totally out of place for what we do and for who we are. And we developed our identity slowly. Like I would say the first year we were open, we weren't fully, realized. I think we were starting to get there at the end of the first year, but we were not where we wanted to be, or we hadn't really gotten a full grasp on our service and a few other aspects. The pandemic really solidified all that for us because we lost everything in just a few weeks, and we sat there and we kind of did a big cleaning event with all of our team, and we kind of gave them the bad news that we were shutting down. And then we, my partner and I sat there by the window and had a glass of expensive cognac, and we thought this might be the last time we ever sit in this room, because we were going into quarantine the following day. And then, throughout the pandemic, once it became apparent that we were going to try to reopen and we were going to try to move forward, we had to figure out ways to do it and ways to be more lean, mean, sustainable, doing things, in a new way, and really playing to our strengths and not trying to be something that we weren't. So we really wanted to make sure that our service was exceptional. We knew we had great cocktails, but we wanted to keep pushing that. And the food is very good too. And we expanded our food a little bit more. We focused on to-go cocktails for a very brief amount of time, and they were great. But honestly, by the time that everywhere was open in Phoenix, we were too late to the game. If we had started doing that 6 months before, we could have been very successful with it. But I think once, Phoenix didn't really shut down, so people were still going out to the bars. It's very hard to sell people on to-go cocktails when they can go to the place next door and have an in-person dining experience. So when we finally got everything together, we ran lean. Everybody did everything. We changed our model. We didn't just have segmented positions. Everybody did every position. We've moved away from that a little bit, or I should say we evolved that. So obviously we put our aces in places. Our bartenders, we don't waste them on hosting if they can be bartending. But we do have the versatility now where everyone on our team can do everything, and everyone got a new perspective. They still serve, the bartenders still serve, they still bartend. We really placed emphasis on each one of those positions and said, look, before you treated this as a throwaway, and now that you're in this, we want you to see the totality of the hospitality experience and understand how important the host is. Our host is one of our absolute most important, positions that we have. There's no real way around that. Like without a good host in the front, we have nights where we're putting, hundreds of people through the door. If that host messes up reservations or doesn't time things right or doesn't manage the wait list correctly, it can negatively impact our operations to a very high degree, and that hurts everybody.
Doc, will you talk a little bit about little rituals, philosophy of flavor, philosophy of cocktails, and philosophy of hospitality?
Well, we use a lot of, one of the things that from the beginning, we've always used a lot of aromatized and fortified wine in our cocktails. And we did that specifically because, well, for multiple reasons, but one reason is because fortified wines sort of act as, like, I would say, I like to call it a flavor bridge. So they're not a spirit, and they're not a non-alcoholic mixer. They can carry some really nice herbal notes to them, little undercurrent notes. They're really good at putting a spirit and a modifier together. Like a syrup. You might spend all this time working on a syrup that's really beautiful and it has all these different notes. And then if you take that and you put it in a cocktail, and you just end up with a plain old sour, right? Like just tastes like a whiskey sour with something else in it. You need something to sort of lengthen that experience. And I think the trend coming out of New York right after the beginning of the cocktail renaissance was just that everyone was making these really booze-heavy drinks. They were 2 ounces of whatever spirit you were going to use, and sometimes it was 100 proof bourbon. It's a lot. That's a lot for people to take in, especially from a flavor perspective. I know I'm not that thrilled when somebody sits down, a cocktail that has a total of 3.5 ounces of liquid volume, and 2 ounces of that is 100 proof spirit, that's just not really that appealing. So
are you talking about balance?
Yeah, I mean, it's a balance, but it's a different type of balance, because the drinks could still be considered balanced technically, because like the sweet and sour are in harmony, but those aromatized wines, they just kind of lengthen the cocktail a little bit. They just open it up. They allow the other flavors to marry harmoniously and work in concert with each other. So we use fortified wine, I would say, in like 85% of our cocktails.
And just remind everybody the entire breadth of that category of ingredients.
I mean, that's vermouths, that's sherries, that's Madeira, that's port, that's Rancio Sec. That's just, I mean, the list is endless. There are so many, and every week, these producers and distributors are bringing us new variations. And we use,
because they know you're the guys that'll know what to do with them.
Yeah. I mean, I think I joke sometimes. I'm like, distributors probably hate me because they're like, we order a bunch from them, but it's none of the things they want us to order, right? It's always, they're like I'm like they want us to sell X vodka, and we are buying cases of dry vermouth, and like I feel like one of them is a much better proposition for them.
What else is really interesting about the fortified wines?
What's that?
When you make chords of flavor, if that chord is part of music that you love, you really recognize it. But these fortified wines not only add that harmonious note to the chord of cocktail music that you're playing, but they're the actual volume. The drink that you were describing with the 100 proof spirit is a pleasurable chord, but it's way too loud, because that loudness of the bourbon makes it a little wincy. Or if it's not there, it's limp. What you're talking about is the multiple levels of modulation, not only in terms of the harmony, but in the volume sound-wise, not the breadth of it. And what you do is so masterful. You're the kind of person who's crafting on 4 levels. The drink just doesn't come with like one note of flavor. It's this composite that has richness and depth. That's one of the things that is so genius about your use of the fortified wines, is it really shows the mastery of understanding what makes it full and rich and complex and irresistible and balanced.
Right. Absolutely. And that goes back to our sort of philosophy, and the way that we do things at Little Rituals too, is that we want it to be a relaxed and enjoyable atmosphere. And we have, one of the things that coming out of the gate after the pandemic is our entire clientele was completely gone, and we had to start from scratch. And so everyone that we brought back a few people that remembered us, but realistically we built a whole new clientele, and it's extremely diverse clientele. We skew overwhelmingly female. I mean, I would say probably 60 to 70% of our clientele is female. And then just, every type of person from every walk of life comes in, which we love. And so with that, you have a variety of tastes, and people's, what they're looking for when they go out is, it's just, a lot of people are looking for an experience, and they don't have a lot of, face time with cocktails. They're really trepidatious about, trying some of these cocktails. And we have some daunting ingredients in there. You read some of these descriptions and you say, I don't know what a couple of these things are, but we always make sure that we have touchstones and ways of explaining the cocktails to make, and every cocktail has a description at the top of it. It tells you what it's supposed to taste like. So you kind of know going into it, even if you don't recognize the ingredients. We want them to still be approachable. And some of our most, it's crazy, some of our best-selling cocktails that we've had in the past are with ingredients that I would never imagine anyone going into a bar and calling for or asking for, or, and I'm talking like, when I say like best-selling, I mean cocktails that we sell all the time, every night, over and over and over again. We also keep our menu fairly static. We do change it, When we change it, we only change maybe a third of it at the most.
Talk a little bit. We should tell people, and we're talking with Aaron DeFeo. He's the founder of Little Rituals, a bar in downtown Phoenix, Arizona. He is located in a hotel that is an extended stay hotel, and it's a Marriott. It's a Courtyard by Marriott, and it's not necessarily the kind of place. When we think of great hotel bars, you tend to think of places that are the meeting place of the world kind of places, and yet here we are having this conversation because Dr. DeFeo and his team have done such an exceptional job of recognizing what was possible. His innovation has been now proven. I want to talk about being in downtown Phoenix. You are literally like across the street from the ballpark. You're at in the hub, the epicenter of downtown Phoenix, and it's a booming city in a maybe the fastest growing state in the country. There's a lot that's drawing people there. You've got your sense about who your clientele is. You've got a really keen sense about who you are as a host and what your flavor philosophy is. Let's talk about the 2022 Spirited Awards at Tales of the Cocktail. I remember your first Tales of the Cocktail and how excited you were to go down. The whole world was discovering what became the global cocktail movement. I know this has been on your radar screen for a while. Let's start by saying congratulations on the honors. Talk a little bit about these awards this year.
Oh, the awards are they were really fantastic. I mean, the level of talent was extraordinary. It was great to see everybody in the room together for the first time in multiple years. It was a great experience for me. I'd never been to the actual awards. I've been to Tales many times, but this was the first time I was being honored, so that was really great, and great experience for myself and my lead bartender Chanel and Ross, my partner. We had a great time doing that, and it is a motivating factor. You see all these people doing these great things, and you walk away pretty energized. And so we're looking to reload and work even harder, and hopefully be back there again next year, because it is a certain level of contagiousness to the energy and the I mean, no pun intended with the contagiousness. I'm sure there's plenty of COVID out there.
I want to say congratulations. Little Rituals was a finalist, one of 4 finalists for the best U.S. hotel bar for the 2022 Spirit Awards for Tales of the Cocktail.
Yeah.
One of 4 best U.S. hotel bars in the United States. This is no small feat, and congratulations.
Thank you. And we love,
talk about that competitive set you were in too, because I mean, it's astonishing.
Yeah, I mean, we were up against some really big names, and the team that won actually, basically they're Silver Lion. They're the same group that runs Lioness, Dandelion, White Lion, all of these bars that have all won World's Best. Basically, every bar they've ever run in some form has pretty much won World's Best Bar. So the fact that we lost to a really great group like that in a bar that's really fantastic, it's a motivator. We see what they do, and we have a lot of respect for that. And at the same time, we do some pretty great stuff ourselves. So it's definitely, the recognition does make you want to work harder, and, being recognized with some of those places, it's a satisfying feeling to know that in Phoenix, Arizona, basically you can still do some great things, and you can still compete with somebody who has such a great pedigree behind them.
And there are bars that are legend. Some of the most legendary bars in the world are in hotels, at the Savoy Hotel, or, even Trader Vic's at the Beverly Hilton in Beverly Hills. Great hotels have always historically been the place where you could always find a great cocktail, even in the dark ages, that period when mixology and cocktails sort of fell behind in terms of cultural relevance and significance. One could always reliably go to the great hotels and great hotel bars, where the great hotel barmen, real professionals, maintained the craft of cocktail. And it was the kind of place where you'd find somebody like a Dale DeGroff, who really was a master at that craft for a long time. And when you came to this and you brought this to the hotel and you got this honor, the 2022 Spirited Awards, Best U.S. Hotel Bar, I was cheering for you. And it made me think, what got you excited? What flipped the switch for you back in the day to really excite you about cocktails in the first place? How did you become one of the top bartenders? You were one of the top 4 in the country at the moment. What flipped the switch for you to get into this?
There was probably 3 things. The first thing would be, Tony Abou-Ghanem, who's one of my mentors, watching him speak and, trying his drinks, but more, drinks aside, just listening to him talk and just the passion that he had, some of the early outreach in those days, was a lot of people traveling around and doing these seminars, and they were on pretty what we would consider basic topics now, but I'll still sit through one of those seminars any day because you learn so many things, and just the expertise and the authority with which, Dale and Tony and some of these people would speak about.
So what's next for Little Rituals and Doc DeFeo?
Man, just working a lot. We've got a busy season, and I think, we're really more about, we kind of put our head down and work and try to produce. Honestly, we never got into this for the awards. We do this because of the bar, and we love what we do, and we love making the drinks every day. So if we win awards, it's great. And if not, we're going to keep doing the same thing that we do all the time, and improving ourselves. And right now, all of our team members are taking, extracurricular education classes and everything. So, hopefully by this time next year, everyone will be, even more learned and more exceptional at their jobs. So
I know we're running low on time and we've kept you longer, but that's just me being greedy for time with you. I'm so incredibly proud of you, but I'm fascinated every time we get to talk. Do you have one tip for operators in this moment in time to help them enrich or awaken or enliven or innovate their bar program? Is there any one tip that you think everybody needs to hear right now?
There's 2 things. One is going to be batten down the hatches, because, I think we learned all too well in the last few years that we were not prepared for, cataclysmic changes in our society. And I think that those are always going to be happening from this point on. And so, the second thing is, I would say, really concentrating on quality, not quantity, in terms of what you're doing. If you want to do great things with drinks, until you have the ability and the capability to produce, you have to know your limitations. If you're a small bar and you don't have a lot of prep space, don't do an ambitious 30, 40, 50, 60 cocktail menu. Focus on a small amount, but make those drinks really, really good. Make sure you can execute them. That's we built our whole bar from the ground up to execute kind of what the drinks that we wanted to execute. So if you're trying to retrofit something that you already currently operate, you're not going to be successful trying to do what we do in a place that used to be a Chili's.
Right.
That's just not going to happen. It doesn't matter how good your bartenders are. It doesn't matter how good you are or how innovative your flavor combinations are. If you don't have the tools built into the bar to execute those things on a high level all the time, you're constantly going to have service pitfalls. So, luckily we've, again, engineered our way around that, but, know your limitations, focus on quality, not quantity, bulletproof everything, and really, don't take no for an answer. And when I say that, I actually mean that from your team. I've worked many places in the past, and I have friends that are currently going through this right now, where they're trying to implement a cocktail program in a place where the people who work there don't want it. And it's a very tough
Wow.
It's a tough thing to swallow. They're saying, oh, my bartenders won't make the drinks I want them to make. And unfortunately, I hate to say this, but like they have to. Like, right, you have to have the backbone to say, this is the line, right? I'm drawing the line in the sand. This is what we're doing. You know, it sucks that somebody might have worked there 10 years and now they don't want to make mojitos, but you know what? They need to make mojitos because that's what the bar is serving now. So if they want to continue working there, they need to get with the program. And, but in order to get them to do that, you do need to provide the inspiration and the education for them to do that and the tools. Because what I just said about not having the setup, if you try to go to your, you know, to your small neighborhood bar and you want to try to run some sort of crazy, you know, cocktail, or you want to do frozen cocktails and you have one blender, you know, your bartenders are going to hate you and they will revolt. Like, there have to be, the tools need to be in place. Everything has to be, you know, bulletproof, and you have to have sound reasoning, and you have to inspire them and say, look at how good this is. Look at how well we could do with this.
Dr. DeFeo, you founded Little Rituals Bar in downtown Phoenix, Arizona, and the Spirited Awards recognized you as one of the 4 best U.S. hotel bars in the country. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
LittleRitualsBar.com on the World Wide Web. And Doc, do you have a house toast at Little Rituals that you share with guests?
Oh, we should.
Let's come up with one. I'll come and see you.
Yeah, you got it. You know, you're better at that kind of stuff than I am. You know, you can be my Toastmaster.
I love it. Dr. DeFeo and Little Rituals making a lot of news and a lot of standard bearer style excellence in Phoenix, Arizona. The industry is going to rise, hopefully, to your challenge. And those of us that are lucky enough to come and sip with you will be ably and amply rewarded. You make some of the best in the business. Thank you for what you do.
You're welcome. Thanks.
We're
Denver.
lucky that you. How did you meet these fantastic men? Ian, Paul, it's so lovely to have you here with us. Welcome. And I raise my glass to welcome you. Welcome. The incredible Vanessa Hudgens and Oliver Trevina. Hello and welcome.
Hi.
Cheers.
Thank you.
How you doing?
I want to talk about the fact that the incredible Padma Lakshmi is joining us. Our extraordinary friend Diane Meena joins us from her home. Tower, who joins us today from his home in the beautiful Merida, Mexico. He joins us now, Chef Ming Tsai. Aloha and welcome.
What's going on, Jen? Good to see you.